Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you've had a great week. I've noticed a lot of people really doing some thinking this week, and I can see the numbers are down slightly on posts from last week, but I think that's because we've got a lot of people working on their assignment at the moment. As I could see by the questions that were being emailed both to me and also all the questions I could see on the board. So well done, guys, on getting onto that assignment. We've got the study group for that assignment on 6 p.m. on Tuesday. I've chosen this time because a lot of people said they were working during the day or busy during the day and they wanted to be able to do it at night. I couldn't go any later than 6 p.m. Western Standard Time because we've got a lot of people from the eastern states and it gets a bit late for them. So I thought that was about the best option we could do, that fitted in with everybody who got back to me's time frames they were working in. So I hope that's great. What I'll be doing at that is just discussing what I'll be looking for when I'm marking the assignment and how you can really build your skills to develop that and make the most of this assignment so that then you go on to the next assignment and you get the most out of it. So hopefully that will be really helpful for you and to get you right up to speed and doing great work. We had a few fantastic sort of comments during the week. Um, Daniel shared a great article in the assignment one thread if you want to have a look. Feel free, if you find great articles that you think will be really good for other people, feel free to share those because it really helps when we've got a lot of people who want to share and you're working collaboratively, because that's how you would work in a classroom. Don't see that as cheating or anything like that, because if you were in a classroom and we were working on this assignment, we would all be sitting there looking at what articles people were bringing in around the different topics. So feel free to put those up there, especially great ones like that, Daniel. Cameron was wondering where to look for things on if you're looking for a peer-reviewed journal article. That means that it is written by an expert with no bias. It is really good to look up in the library, in the Curtin Library website. You'll find some great stuff in there because we've got access to so many journals. We're so lucky. And you could look on ProQuest or Google Scholar and you will find articles that will really help. You can also use government documents. Government documents are also really good for showing how these theories are being applied in an actual organisation or in legislation or anything like that. So yeah, they're the best ways to go about this assignment, I think. Andrea. Andrea emailed me about learning theories and where we could discuss them or ask questions on the discussion board. So it was a great idea. So I've put up a thread on the discussion board just to shoot the breeze about learning theories. If you want to talk about them, debate, ask questions, pop them up there. If you want to go in and see what people are talking about, so far it's just me and Andrea, but I'm sure there'll be more soon. Go in there and feel free to have a chat about everything that's going on in there. Now, I'm going to get to our, let's see, our discussion board. Hope you're all still there. Excellent. Now, this week, as I said, we had less threads, so it's going to be a very short little discussion tonight. But I think that was largely because we've had everybody working on their assignments, just from what I've been seeing. But it was really good because what I noticed this week was we were starting to get more chatty as we were talking about the answers. So there were more people answering people, asking questions, giving their opinion on the topics. And that's great. That's what we really need to build so that we can build that collaborative nature and really start thinking and honing in on these questions, not just answering in the most obvious way. So we started off, Corinne was up there first. Well done, Corinne. You're getting right in there now that we've got the hang of it. And you're looking at cognitive development and about neuroscience and psychology and how this was developed. Piaget is amazing. Piaget actually studied on his own children, which I find really interesting because I like to research my own children as well. I'm basing myself on Piaget's model. No, it's really good because it meant he had access to the children and what they were developing over a very long period of time, and he got to see them regularly. So what he was observing was really a very small sample size, his own children, but he got to see it over a very long period of time. And then he went in and did the research that matched in to see that other people were doing exactly, other children were developing in exactly the same way. So it's very, very interesting. So Corinne has started looking at adaptation and the way the brain organizes information right from birth. Now, equilibrium is a very, very interesting concept to think about. So if we think about getting to a point where we don't know what we're doing, then we try to make sense of it to bring up the equilibrium. Uh, what we're looking at with what Corinne was talking about was how the sensory motor system is developed and how we can only develop so far at one time. I think it was really good to see that Corinne had been actually looking at how this fitted in with her children as well. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. And she's been looking at her daughter and looking at how she was absorbing the information and growing from the information and developing all those different systems while she was developing. And if you look at it, if you think of it as Piaget looking at his children to understand how they worked, and then, I'm very sorry about that, and then you doing the same thing, it makes it so that you're almost role-playing as Piaget and you get a greater understanding of where he was coming from. So it's really important that you're doing that sort of thing. I think that is fantastic that Corinne did that. We just go down here. Because Sarah then came in and mentioned that she'd seen exactly the same things in her child, in her son. And so this is why it's really good to have these discussions, because I bet everybody else who's in our group, if you watch your own children or you watch some other children or your brother's children or other children you know, you'll see the same things happening. And if you can start doing that with children you know, then when you get into a classroom, you will be able to apply it so much more easily because you've already developed it in your brain, your own cognitive development of looking for that. And that will be a pattern that you will copy. And it's so important that you can do that when you get into a classroom because it will enable you to pinpoint exactly how to develop children. Now, we'll just go down here. And Dylan started talking about Kohlberg's moral reasoning. Now, this will be fantastic in your assignment as well. The Kohlberg's moral reasoning is something that is really, really important to understand, not just so that you can teach and understand how children are developing and learning and why they can only reason in such a way at such a time, but also for behaviour management. Because if you can understand Kohlberg's moral reasoning and the different stages and identify which stages children are at, you will know what sort of behaviour management theories will work with those children or strategies will work with those children. So it is really important to get your head around those and then start trying to apply those to real life scenarios and people as well. Because the more you get into that, the easier it gets when you get into a classroom, believe me, and that you're identifying, oh, that child's at that level, I know how to react to that. And you'll find it so much easier with your behaviour management. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. That was a great answer, Dylan. You explained it really well. Sarah, you have been on fire this week. Well done. You're answering and thinking and applying really well. And if any of you have ever come across Bloom's taxonomy, you'll know that comprehension is what you do when you answer those questions. Application is what you do when you're applying. That's the next level of thinking, the depth of thinking. when you're actually questioning and synthesizing, that is another level of thinking, which is fantastic because that's what Sarah is doing here. Or Sarah, you'll have to tell me how to pronounce it. I hope you can come to our discussion on Tuesday night. It is really interesting, the discussion that came up here. I'll let everybody else go in there. Have a break from your assignment at some point. Just pop in, even if you don't want to answer any of the questions, and have a look at the discussions that are going on here because they are so rich and so good for you to be able to learn from. And maybe you can put in a reply as well or a thought on it because we're having a little bit of a debate about how moral reasoning is developed and how much impact, so it's almost nature versus nurture going on here, how much impact parents have on children's moral development and how much is just the children developing it. It's also really interesting to think about if you look at that as last week when we're looking at the different systems that children are participating in and how those impact on moral development, and Kohlberg's theory is also a really interesting thing to have a think about there. So well done, Sarah and Dylan. That discussion is brilliant. Daniel has come in with Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. It is, you're probably out of it at the moment, Daniel, but it does come back. So the more you understand it, I know sometimes you're just totally overwhelmed and you can't even get a grip on it. You've got to break it down into the small parts, as we discussed, and just try to get your grip on different parts of it. It was great to see you applying the zone of proximal development. I don't know if you're actually in it because you might be a little bit overwhelmed with it by the sounds of it, but keep trying. It is good to go from the quizzes back in here to have a word with everybody and see how everybody else is going. And then Daniel did that, which was fantastic. And Corinne, you're such a great person to have in this class because you're always asking and helping everyone. And Corinne was giving Daniel some ideas on how to go about applying these things and trying to learn it and get an understanding. And both of the strategies were fantastic. And then I've only just got to Garanji. Great that you're back in here. You must have had a very big week, I should imagine. And Garanji's also talking about the zone of proximal development. The zone of proximal development is really, really important, and that leads into the theory of flow. I don't know if anybody's heard about that, where it's just like when you're driving, you go into automatic, you're understanding your brain is going really fast, or when you're doing something like a game or something you're really into, you go into flow. And that's a zone of proximal development. That's where the brain has actually understood what's going on, but there's just this little bit of challenge that you want to overcome. That is the zone of proximal development, not where you feel like you're sinking and drowning and about to die and there's too much information. That is not the zone of proximal development. That is where you need to structure it up a little bit and scaffold it using Vygotskian theory so that you can reach the zone of proximal development. Hope that makes sense. And then more study notes. It's been fantastic the way you're all supporting each other here. Michelle has been discussing how she's been studying. And this is a great way of getting more tips and ideas on how to study and build in all these techniques. Michelle's written 10 pages of notes so far, but like I have said, this is a hugely dense unit. Like, this is way bigger than any unit I did when I was at university. There are so many theories and there is so much information to gauge all at once. So it is no wonder you are taking a lot of notes because you need to. And I think, Daniel, your idea of using slides and PowerPoint slides and breaking all the information up into different categories and moving it around so you can just understand one part at a time is absolutely brilliant. So that was really good. Taking the notes, Corinna had the headings. I think you are all going to do really, really well. I'm going to leave you there this week. I will see you on Tuesday night anyway. if you come to that with just some questions and ideas around the assignment and what you're worried about, and I will try to guide you in the right direction for finding the right notes and how to address the theories and how much real life experience to put in those as well. Okay, have a fabulous week. I hope to see you on Tuesday. I am really looking forward to our session and actually chatting with you in real time. It will be fantastic. Okay, bye.